Hello once again, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Back in 2013, Super Mario 3D World was one of my favourite games. Among its many features, the game also introduced Captain Toad, in levels where he would traverse puzzle levels to collect treasure. Fast forward over a year and we have a whole game based around the concept that debuted in Super Mario 3D World. We join the intrepid captain and his daring assistant Toadette as they scour the land for precious gems and elusive golden stars. During one such adventure, their prize is taken by Wingo, who also kidnaps Toadette in the process. It's up to Captain Toad to save the day. Right off the bat, the world of Captain Toad is colourful and varied, with grassy hills, sandy beaches and fiery volcanoes making up some of the worlds you'll explore. If any of the game's locations look familiar, it's probably because a lot of the assets seem pulled straight from Super Mario 3D World. The bright, vibrant visuals fit nicely alongside the game's cheerful soundtrack, and Captain Toad himself is such an awesome, adorably designed character. It's hard not to love him. In terms of gameplay, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a puzzle platformer, but without the platforming. See, despite spinning off from a platforming series, Captain Toad and Toadette cannot jump, probably because their backpacks are so full of adventure. So instead, you traverse levels by using ramps, stairs, or whatever mechanisms you can find to manipulate the area. In each level, your goal is to collect the gold star, but there's plenty of enemies out to stop you. Most of the time you'll need to avoid them, but dropping on them from above or throwing an item at them will take care of them. There are a few levels that break up the standard formula occasionally, such as boss fights and minecart rides, but for the most part this game is about walking your way from point A to point B. Clearing each stage by finding the golden star is easy enough, and you'd be forgiven for mistaking this for a kid's game. While it's certainly kid-friendly, the game's challenge is in collecting 3 optional gems as well as completing the hidden objective in each stage. While these are mildly difficult, there's nothing too taxing about them. Treasure Tracker's controls are simple and work well, but I do have a few issues with them. For example, rotating your camera to find hidden parts is a big part of the game, and for the most part it works fairly well. It's unfortunate then that you can't turn off the gamepad's motion controls, which will rotate the camera with the controller. It's a small gripe, but the other gamepad mechanics work well at least. You're able to tap certain platforms to shift them, and you can operate elevators by blowing in the gamepad's microphone as well. You might wonder how entertaining a full-priced game made from what was essentially a minigame could be, and it should be said that the core gameplay could have gotten old very quickly. Luckily, the staggered introduction of various mechanics such as timed platforms and the multiplier cherry, first seen in Super Mario 3D World, keep things interesting. By the time the credits roll, you'll have collected 18 stars and 54 or so gems. But that's not the end. Once you complete the first Treasure Tracker book, you're presented with what the game calls Treasure Tracker 2, in which you play as Toadette trying to save Captain Toad. It's a neat surprise, but it's not the only one the game has in store for you. If you're looking at completing the game, there's something like 66 stars and over 150 gems to track down. The game is being sold for less than your usual retail game, and to be honest, this is value for money. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of good. While it may seem a bit thin, there's a lot to enjoy with Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. If you enjoyed the original minigames in Super Mario 3D World and wanted more, or you're a fan of side puzzles in general, then Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is the game for you. It's challenging without being frustrating, and while its core mechanics get old pretty quickly, the game adds in new mechanics at a steady enough pace to keep things interesting. To top it off, Treasure Tracker has a surprising amount of content considering the price of admission.